Welcome into Onorato and Bagnardi. I'm Chris Onorato. He's Sean Bagnardi. Bags, how are you, brother? We got a lot to get to on this show, man, with the NBA playoffs, the Knicks season wrapping up. We'll dive into kind of what went wrong with them, if anything at all. And I'll explain that in a little bit as we talk about their series with the Atlanta Hawks. Your guy, deGrom, continues to spin it on the mound. And we got a couple of interesting guests coming up on today's show too, buddy.
Couple of interesting guests. That's how you describe our guests, is interesting?
I was going to go with energetic, but I'll let that speak for itself when we get there.
Entertaining?
Okay.
Got some entertaining guests. Okay. Hey, the New York Knicks have lost, and we're talking about how good of a season they had. That's a good place to be in, isn't it? It's kind of like failing up. So let's get into this, man. I'm excited about this.
And as we do each and every week here on Onorato and Bagnardi, starting with last week, we'll give away a $50 Bold gift card as well. If you're unfamiliar with Bold, we'll tell you about the great place that it is that makes the soups, salads, smoothies, and acai bowls. You're watching Onorato and Bagnardi.
This is Onorato and Bagnardi, brought to you by Outfit House.
All right, Bags, the season has ended for the New York Knicks, but I'm going to spin it positively here, as you said in the show open there, is that they exceeded expectations this year, not by making the playoffs, but by the 4 seed, clinching the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, they're done in 5 games, but I still think if you are a Knicks fan today, you look at that and you say, we're ahead of schedule. As much as I hate that phrase in sports, we are ahead of schedule, and we now have a head coach that can get us to our final destination. I'm not talking about winning an NBA title maybe, but progressing in the playoffs, something this team hasn't done in more than a decade.
Yeah, man. Well, winning a championship is the final destination of every team. Look, had a schedule. There was no schedule a year ago. So that automatically puts you way ahead of schedule if you're the New York Knicks. Now, here's the problem with this season. You did get all the way up to 4. So there is some disappointment here. Feels like if they had finished 5 and lost to Atlanta, it'd be a little bit different, right? But for some reason, now you get to the 4, you got that home advantage. You're looking at this as a very winnable series. But in a lot of ways, when you talk about the schedule, the Atlanta Hawks were a year ahead in that schedule, and they got the job done. They won the playoff series this year. We knew that it wasn't going to be a championship year for the Knicks anyway, but when you get to that 4 seed, you do really want to take care of business. This whole series was game 1 for me, man. You cannot lose. Obviously, we saw what happened in game 5, and that's how the series ended. I think if they're going into that 2-2, though, it's a lot different. And ultimately, you lose game 1 at home. And after that, everybody was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we lost, but there's a lot of series left. We did all right. We're on the stage now. We've got plenty of time here to turn this thing around. But the bottom line is, man, you cannot lose home playoff games, especially in these coin flip kinds of series. You're not the Nets or the Bucks, where maybe you could get away with that because you feel so confident you could win on the road. This series really hinged on that game 1 tight game, and they just didn't come through. And ultimately, even after getting the series even, you just felt like, boy, they got a chance. They could go split in Atlanta, and then things just went south from there. So
see, you're wrong here, though. This isn't about game 1. This is about game 3. If this is such a coin flip series, you can't expect to hold serve on your home court every single time. So game 1, it's a Trae Young basically buzzer beater. Then the Knicks really control the action in game 2. There should have been momentum to make game 3 more competitive than it was in Atlanta. For me, that series was won in game 3 because the Knicks should have gone to the ATL and felt like, okay, we still can win this series. You have to at least then split on the road. You and I both said Atlanta in 6. 1, because 6 is just the safe play. It would be home court for the Hawks, and they win in that. And we just were both on the Hawks because we thought they're the more talented team, and they are. But one is a 1-point game. The Knicks then control game 2. Okay, show me something more on the road. And ultimately, Bags, those 2 games on the road, man, they couldn't break 100 points. They didn't have enough offense, and it was done. You knew it going back to the Garden. Maybe they steal game. Maybe they steal, and I shouldn't even say steal about a home game, but maybe they steal game 5. But there's still no way they're winning this series because they're not talented enough.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the momentum after game 2. The reality is Atlanta had the momentum because they split and they were going home. So they were able to take advantage of that. They did what you need to do in playoff series. They took care of business on their home court. Okay. And ultimately they did the job, got 1 out of 2, went home, did what they were supposed to, and put themselves in a commanding 3-1 position. Again, I think if the series isn't 3-1 and it's 2-2 going into that game 5, maybe we see something a little bit different from the Knicks. Not that they had given up, okay? But in a lot of ways, I think we all knew this series was over. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we're splitting hairs by analyzing game by game. You're right. They were not the better team. What the Knicks, I think, have to take away from all this, what they have to learn is, number one, we've got our head coach. We're building the culture the right direction. We are becoming a destination for a big free agent player because of that culture and because it's New York City, because it's Madison Square Garden, which they already had that. But the problem is the culture was so bad they couldn't attract any big free agents, to the point where some even go right next door and go play for the Brooklyn Nets, right? So they've turned it around. They're heading that right direction. Now what we look at from them in a playoff series is they've got to go get a big number 1. Julius Randle is not a number 1 guy. He can be a number 2 or a number 3 on a championship caliber team, but he certainly can't be a number 1, and he certainly can't be your only option, right? The Knicks have to do serious work offensively. All year we talked about how great they were defensively, and I kept saying when you get to the playoffs and everybody starts to play defense, you're going to come a little bit back closer down to average in that category. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do on the other side of the ball? And the answer is nowhere near enough. They've got to get weapons in there offensively. They can't shoot the basketball.
If you're following along here, we threw up comments from Jeff and Carol. Jeff made the point that, yeah, better season than anyone thought the Knicks would have. Hawks are more talented. That's true. Look, Hawks have also had, I almost just jumped to saying they've had more top 5 picks in the last 5 years, but the Knicks live in the lottery as well. And Jeff is with you here. And again, comment, question, you'll be entered to win a $50 gift card to Bold each and every week on Onorato and Bagnardi. Biggest point. Yeah, Knicks are now a destination for free agents. And I'm with you. It starts with the head coach. It's no longer this dysfunctional franchise. You have to get the right guys who want to play for somebody like Thibodeau, even though we call him Tibbs. And that takes the right kind of guy. I'm with you, though. Julius Randle is not a 1. He's barely a 2, but I would say you're not going to win a title with Julius Randle as your second best option on your team. He's probably more of a 3. And so I think based on his performance this postseason, he's probably cost himself a lot of money. He's got 1 year left on his deal with the Knicks, but he played the regular season as if he was an MVP candidate, as if he was a max contract guy. He's not now. And the Hawks are not this great defensive team, and they found a way to really limit what Julius Randle's able to do offensively.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about with these playoff series. You're getting the same team 4 to 7 games in a row. You can focus all of your energy, all of your scouting, everything on that one team. So this is what happens when you only have one weapon. Now, he didn't have a good playoff series. All right. But when you're on your own and now you give another team all this time to prepare for your team with one offensive option, guess what? That guy's not going to blow up the same way. You need those other guys to feed off of. So to me, it's not all on Julius Randle. We look to him as, hey, you're the number 1 in this team. Now it's playoff time. Let's go step up. Some of that's fair. Some of it isn't, because you can't do it by yourself. Certainly not in the postseason. And that's what we saw in this series. The Hawks, by the way, they have that number 1 guy, right? Now, they're not a championship team, but they do have that number 1. And that's the guy you're looking at on your screen, Trae Young. He proved that. He showed that to me in this series. We knew him coming up. He had a lot of talent. We thought, a lot of Steph Curry comparisons. This is a guy who can, do it with a little bit of flair. He's got unlimited range. but he's not Steph Curry. And I'm not going to sit here today and tell you he's Steph Curry because he isn't. But he has now shown that he can be more than just that Steph Curry wannabe and can be a guy who is a team leader and a number one on a very good, a very competitive playoff team. We'll see what happens now. They've got a tough challenge against Philadelphia coming up, the number one seed in the East. Embiid's health will play a factor in this series, assuming he's healthy. I like Philadelphia, but I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta got a game or two.
Partial tear of the meniscus for Embiid. On Trae Young, I texted you during these playoffs and I said, is Trae Young going to make me like him during this postseason? And he has already, really. One, because I'm starting to believe that you can win with this guy. And I'm going to do the boring thing here and say, I'm going to do my best to not make snap judgments on somebody who's 18 or 19 years old in his rookie season in the NBA and whether or not 5 years down the road, he can win a title or be the best player on a championship team. Now, this is year 3 for Trae, and we've already seen him make leaps and bounds in terms of progress of, 1, taking care of the basketball, 2, shot selection. Now, he's not perfect in these areas, but he's a lot better, Bags, than he was his rookie and even second season. And so I'm now ready to say, yeah, Trae Young's the type of guy I can get behind. I can try to build around. He creates his own shots, but he can also create for others. Surround him with shooters and good defenders because he's not that. So support him with the other 4 guys on the floor, and I think he can be the best player on a team that goes deep into the postseason. The other thing I love about Trae Young, 1, you've got to play well to do this next thing, and so he's playing well. The next thing that I love about him, he embraces the role of being the villain or being hated, taking on, the anger and the angst of the home fans when he's on the road. I love that about him. He's not shying away from that moment. So I'm on board with Trae Young going forward here. And again, like I said, I'm going to do my best to not look at somebody who's 18 or 19, never played in the NBA before, and just assume through 82 games, this guy's probably not going to work out the way they hope he would.
All right. All that said, and you're right, man. But here's the ultimate point I'm going to make out of this discussion. Today, right now, I'd rather be the New York Knicks than the Atlanta Hawks. Because the Hawks, the big concern they're going to have is I can look at the Knicks and say, I know what they need. I'm not sure you can look at the Hawks and say, I know what they need to really get over that hump to be a championship team. I mean, what, a guy like Giannis maybe? Yeah, that's not going to happen. I worry about the Hawks now being this sort of middling team where they're really good but don't get over the hump, and they're not that destination. Now, if guys ultimately decide they want to go play with Trae Young and they like that system there, I'm not saying that's impossible, but I'd much rather be the New York Knicks sitting there saying, look, we're playing defense. We got the Garden. Did you see the Garden? Were you watching the Garden during these playoff games? Don't you want to come and win in that environment? I'd rather be today the New York Knicks moving forward than the Atlanta Hawks, because down the road, 1 year, 2 year, whatever it is, when that big free agent's available, you got the better chance to bring them in. And look what Brooklyn has done. I mean, that's what you have to do ultimately to win, is attract the big name free agent or two. So I'd rather be the Knicks.
All right. I wonder for the Knicks here, and quickly, is Damian Lillard the guy? Maybe is Lillard the guy the Knicks key on? Because we keep hearing, hey, they need a point guard. It looked like Emmanuel Quickley was going to be the guy going forward. He really slowed and cooled off. But again, a rookie and only played his freshman year at Kentucky. So I'm not jumping to conclusions, but maybe Lillard is the guy the Knicks target, and they can do that immediately. Billy Blake with the question here. 2 former City Rocks now go at it. That's Herter and Tobias Harris. Who wins, Atlanta, Philadelphia? Billy, you're testing my City Rocks knowledge, dude, by not throwing those 2 names out there. But I'm glad I at least could come up with that one.
Yeah, well, I said I'll take Philadelphia. They are better. Atlanta will give them more of a fight than I think maybe the casual NBA fan would expect. Again, assuming Embiid is healthy. If he's not, all bets are off, and this series gets real interesting because then you're relying an awful lot on Ben Simmons, who you and I both know is very limited. And of course, you mentioned Harris, who is certainly a very good player for them. But assuming everybody's healthy and good to go, I'll say Philadelphia in 6. So that would mean they win on the road in game 6. And I think they will. I think they'll close out a series before it goes 7. But through the first 4 or 5 games, this is going to be closer than I think a lot of people might have expected.
The fan stuff has bummed me out this postseason. The injuries are bumming me out, man, with Embiid and Anthony Davis. And okay, how much are we getting from these two guys, especially? And that will play a huge role determining really who comes out of the East and who comes out of the West, I think. And I hate to see that injuries and health play such a factor, but it is prevalent in any sport and at every point in the season.
No doubt, man. Staying healthy is the key to everything. If I'm sitting here as I am as a Brooklyn Nets fan, because I saw it all year, how difficult it was to keep the big three on the court together. And now I'm sitting here saying, if we can just do that, it's going to be really hard to beat 4 times. So that's health. I'd rather take health over maybe even a game, right? In a series. If you could give me, you're healthy this entire series, or we'll give you an automatic win right now in this series and you just take your chances with the health, I would take the health over the freebie win going in.
All right, coming up on Onorato and Bagnardi, Bags and I are going to go back to the weekend before, where you and I were both privileged, honestly, to sit courtside for GymRat Live and get to watch some of the best high school players in not just the Northeast, but the country. You had a front row seat for number 1 and number 2 in terms of college prospects. We'll get your take on what you saw at the Albany Capitol Center at GymRat Live. We'll talk with our buddy Joe Calderon as well, who put on that video production that we were part of. We're going to catch up with Albany Empire quarterback Tommy Grady on today's show as well. 8 touchdowns in the season opener for the Empire as they come back, part of the National Arena League after the AFL folded up operations. But before we do any of that, deGrom continues to build his MVP case, even as a pitcher. He should be the front runner 2 months into the year right now. And the Yankees bats are finally coming around a little bit after what was a really difficult week and a half for that team. Baseball on the way next on Onorato and Bagnardi.
Happiness is found in simple things. The sun on your face, sharing laughs, at the campground, getting wet, relaxing together, the love of family. There's never been a better time to go outside and play. Alpenhaus Pool Spa Boat and RV, bringing families together and creating memories since 1964.
Depressed, overworked, job sucks, underappreciated. When life sucks, just say Dilligaff. Our clothing line puts the FU back into fun. Nothing will give you greater satisfaction. Dilligaff isn't just an attitude, it's a lifestyle. Some people ride the crazy train, we drive that mother. Check out our selection at Dillagaffusa.com.
And now, back to Onorato and Bagnardi. Brought to you by Alpenhaus.
All right, Shawnee, after the Yankees had lost 6 of 7, they finally woke up a little bit, and they did it against a good Tampa Bay Rays team, winning back-to-back games. The bats are finally coming around a little bit for the Yankees, and when we talk about health, they're not healthy either. So they're relying on guys like middle of the week, Aaron Judge is playing center field. So they're relying on guys to play out of position, to bat a little bit out of order, and probably being asked to do things they ordinarily wouldn't be asked to do on a team of this caliber, right? The Yankees are always expected to fill the lineup 1 through 9 with dangerous, talented hitters. That isn't the case because of the injured list right now. but they're finally kind of getting things back in order. All right, what have you seen from this team in the first 2 months? Can this be a team that makes a deeper October run than we've seen the last few years? And that, of course, means getting to the World Series.
Yes, they can. Problem with the Yankees and with every team in baseball is that they don't play the game the right way. They still try to.
They don't play the game your way.
Correct. That's my way is how I perceive the game to be the right way. I told you this week. You could give me a top 25 team in the league, right? You eliminate the bottom 5 teams, get them right out. Give me any of the other teams in the league, and I can make the playoffs. Because I would manufacture runs. Everybody on my team would be able to bunt. We would be good base runners. We would do stuff called hit and run. We would steal bases. We would be active. And teams just don't do that anymore. And what's worse is they don't do it when they're not hitting, right? Mm-hmm. I think what has happened here is analytics have said, here's exactly what you have to do to be successful. And you've got to stick to that. This is the mold. And guys are staying in that even when it's not working. And that doesn't make sense. You've got to manufacture runs when you're not scoring. You can't just rely on the home run. So that's what's frustrating me about the Yankees is because, every team in baseball is struggling offensively. It's one of the best years pitching we've seen in our lifetimes, Chris. So what do you got to do? Manufacture some runs. Play baseball the right way.
I'm going to do what you love best about me, and I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth here.
Great.
The reason teams don't change what they're doing, even when what they want to do isn't working, is because baseball is a game of law of averages. They believe, front offices, managers, dugouts believe that, hey, we're not hitting the home run this week, but next week, everything will even out a little bit. It's that Seinfeld theory of he always breaks even. He finds the 20 in his pocket after he lost 20 on the street. The other issue coming out of the other side of my mouth now is that then won't work because the postseason is won and lost in a week. Correct. 1 week in October can sink you. So if your bats go cold, and as we've seen the past 3 postseasons with the Yankees, when they're up against good enough pitching, that lineup isn't going to deliver because it doesn't manufacture runs. The best pitchers on the planet aren't going to give up home runs in the biggest spots of the season or the game. So the law of averages are telling baseball people one thing that, hey, don't worry about this week. Next week's going to be better. However, it is also telling us as fans, and having seen it over the last few years, that, well, that 1 week is going to sink you in October. You have to get away from that type of baseball. And it's why my team, the Braves, lead baseball in home runs. They're an under 500 team backs. They're not going to make if they continue to play the way they are here, if they don't make drastic changes, they will not make the playoffs. And quite frankly, the way they played the first 2 months of the year, they don't deserve to make the playoffs. So I root against that brand of baseball. If the Braves miss out on the postseason, maybe the front office decides we need to do something else. If the Yankees this year miss out on the postseason, maybe Brian Cashman says we need to try a different way. And it isn't just firing Aaron Boone.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You say the brand of baseball. The reality is it's just baseball now. And that's what scares me about it. Baseball is also a sport in which teams do not prepare for the postseason during the regular season. In fact, they do the exact opposite of everything they're going to then need to do come playoff time. They baby pitchers all season long, starting pitchers, baby them. Then they get to the playoffs and they say, we needed to work in a way you've never worked all season, because we're going to go on 3 days rest and we're going to do all these different things with our lineup. No, baseball has got to figure out, managers have got to figure out, GMs have got to figure out that you cannot solely rely on analytics to tell you that if a guy is hitting 1 for 4 and he made an out in his last 3 at-bats, that he's definitely going to get a hit in his next at-bat because that's 1 for 4. That's the average. No, he's got a 1 in 4 chance of getting a hit in that at-bat. So maybe what you ought to do is bunt the guy over from second to third because there's nobody out, and now you can get him in a score in position where you could drive him in with an out with the next guy, because guess what? Odds are the next guy's going to make an out also, right? Even if he's a great hitter. So I don't see enough of that in baseball. I say it all the time when we're watching games at work. I'd bunt here. And you say, yeah, you could, but this guy probably doesn't know how to bunt. And you're not wrong, but that's the first thing I would change is you've got to reinvent the whole mindset of how you're going to play the game so guys can be ready to succeed in those situations.
Maybe Jacob deGrom should be hitting every day he doesn't pitch, right? I mean, this guy is unbelievable, Bags. He continues to make his case to really be the top MVP candidate right now in the National League. At least he is in my mind. I mean, the Mets are in first place. Find me a team that isn't ravaged more by injuries than the New York Mets, and find me a player who doesn't have a greater influence over this first place team than Jacob deGrom. There isn't a guy. It is deGrom. And I know you say to me, well, he's not as valuable because he only pitches one every 5 days. I don't care. He changes the entire mindset of this team, and that filters down to a guy like Marcus Stroman after him in the rotation. It filters into the bullpen, right? Hey, here's a day off for me. We got deGrom on the mound. It changes the mentality of everybody in that clubhouse because number 48 is as good as he is. For me, he's the MVP right now, and I haven't even really talked about what he's done at the plate.
Okay. You kind of just sold me there on why, because you're right. I don't like the idea of a guy who only plays for your team once a week being the most valuable player on your team, let alone in the entire league. To me, it almost sounds absurd. And you say, well, he'd have to do so much more. Look at it in basketball, right? If LeBron James is only going to play one every 3 games, okay?
Sure.
What would he
kind of what he does anyway?
Yeah. What would he have to do to win the MVP over guys who are playing every game? Well, he'd have to average X number of points and be so much better that you just can't ignore it. That's what deGrom is. He is so much better. Every time he pitches, man, I'm confident that we're going to win. And now, look, of course, we know the struggles for this team when he pitches offensively. The bullpen has blown games for him. But I'm so confident now that when he takes the mound, we've got as good a shot as ever to win, because it's incredible, man. You just think this is going to be an out. This is going to be a strikeout. He gets ahead in the count. He'll backdoor you at 101 miles an hour and then break something off in the low 90s, and it's just impossible. You sit there and think to yourself, I don't care if we're not going to score any runs now, because it's just impossible to hit this guy. And I thought in his last start, we're looking at the potential for a no-hitter the way he was going through 3 innings. I think he gave up a hit in the 4th inning, and it was like, okay, well, in the 5th inning, all right. So it was like, all right, I guess that's the end of that. And it was probably a good thing because he's not in a position yet coming back from injury where they're going to stretch him out that much. Now he's got a couple starts under his belt here. Maybe we do see him go even deeper into games. Man, this guy is just at a different level. His ERA might finish under 1 this season. It's insane.
Yeah, maybe. He's under 0.8 now. Look, Sunday night, I was fired up because it was Braves-Mets on Sunday Night Baseball. And I'm like, hey, this is great. I'm going to be able to really kind of watch my team, as painful as they are. But when that game got rained out, I wasn't upset because, well, now we don't have to face deGrom. But you know what? Maybe we miss him the next time around too. Somehow the rotation falls in our favor. If you don't have to face deGrom, be very, very thankful. And he is, look, he's the difference between this team being where they are now or being 3-4 games out of free. He just is. He's had that big of an impact on the season so far. And I know it's still early, but for me, make him the MVP of the National League right now.
I'm on board with it. Definitely the Cy Young. I'm now on board with going him MVP. But before we end this segment, I want to circle back real quick to the Yankees. You just said it. It's early. We're in early June. I got Yankee fans, friends of mine, who are in panic mode about this team. Listen, we could be sitting here 3 weeks from now saying, hey, Yankees have rattled off 6 out of 7, and they're right where they need to be.
Yes,
and it's
very
still
possible.
Early July. You know what I mean?
But Bags, we've just established that doesn't matter. And I would say it's not early anymore. I mean, I always say by Memorial Day, you know what kind of team you are. Most
of June, July, August, September. You're telling me that's not early? That's early still. There's
It's
so
not
much
really. It's
baseball.
enough. It's enough for me to say this is who this is what this team is. And didn't we just say? I mean, what is going to change wildly about the Yankees? Yes, they may rip off a bunch of games in a row, and they might win the AL East. But
Okay.
are you going to pick them to win the World Series based on the way they play? You're telling me they don't play the right way based on the way they play. Are you telling me that this team is better than the White Sox right now? They're not. The White
No,
Sox.
but what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the panic mode of like, I don't even think this team can make the playoffs.
Okay,
I
I get
think
that.
that's premature.
I
Okay.
get that.
And I think the Yankees will make the playoffs. No, I'm not going to predict them to win the World Series because, like I just said, I don't think they play the game the right way. But fortunately for them, nobody does. So when they get to the postseason, and I think they will, then we'll see what happens. You still have Garrett Cole taking them down, for game one, wherever you are. So you got to feel pretty good about that, having him go twice in a series when you're trying to win 4 out of 7. You feel good about that.
Every year, the GymRat Challenge brings in some of the best players in high school basketball from around the country, some of the best teams from the Northeast. This year, GymRat Live, the inaugural GymRat Live, was in downtown Albany at the Albany Capitol Center. Bags and I were there courtside to see some of the best players in the country. We're going to recap that weekend with our guy, Joe Calderon, next right here on Onorato and Bagnardi.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through product and purpose. Claim your crown.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, JennAir, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
And now, back to Onorato and Bagnardi. Brought to you by Alpin House.
All right, Pags, we just wrapped up a segment about the Yankees and the Mets. I want to just throw this up here because I think it's funny. Toby Dallaire. And again, a reminder that if you are watching us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or on my 4, jump onto the News Channel 13 Facebook page, comment along, and you'll be entered to win a $50 gift card to our place, Bold. He says,
Toby's lucky
down,
because
man.
You know what? It doesn't matter. We're not sitting here picking, right? Because I could be like, don't give that guy the Bold gift card. Come on.
Right.
But no. It's all random, all up for grabs. So we're gonna pick you, Toby. You got a chance. You're gonna hate on the Mets. That's all right. We appreciate you watching, appreciate the comment. And look, if you get the Bold gift card for hating on the Mets, that's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you hate on us, you still might get the Bold gift card. That's the beauty of the format here. If you make a comment or ask a question, you could be ripping us and you still have a chance to win that gift card.
Yeah, exactly.
Life's not so bad here on Onorato and Bagnardi. No. All right, Shawnee, over the weekend, man, we were both courtside at the Albany Capitol Center. Gave us a chance to see some of the best high school basketball talent in the country and the Northeast overall, man. This was a lot of fun, GymRat Live.
This was awesome, dude. First of all, nice job at the Capitol Center. Also, a couple games over at the Washington Avenue Armory. Good job by John K. Mack organizing this whole thing. As you said, top players from all across the country. Special thanks, of course, to Allie Jacks and Isis Young. How about that with you there on the call of a lot of these games? We had 17 and under. We had 16 and under. It was awesome, including, man, the top number 1 and number 2 ranked prospects in all the land, Amani Bates and Jalen Duren. Dude, these guys, you felt like, and I don't know if you had this experience too with the 16 and unders, it felt like you're watching a college game in terms of the pace of play and just the size of these athletes. It was hard to believe how young they were because of how big and how fast they were, right?
And the guy who put on the entire video production is our buddy Joe Calderon, Capital Region Sportsnet here in the 518. It was a privilege to join his broadcast crew, and he joins us here now on Onorato and Bagnardi. Joey, it's good to see you, my brother. How are you,
What's
man?
going on? So listen, before we get into the basketball stuff, you hit the nail on the head. Like, deGrom is the best player in baseball, and he might be the only person to get into the Hall of Fame with like a 90-70 record. Like, it's ridiculous. Like what he does for the Mets every time he's on the mound. So, you know, I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on the baseball stuff. So, big fan of the show, by the way. You guys know that. So, this is
all right, Joe. 2 weekends, back-to-back weekends, you streamed through your Capital Region Sportsnet 50 games, man. I mean, this is the NCAA tournament on like Barry Bonds steroids. How do you pull that off? You had the girls 2 weekends ago and then all the boys games last weekend. What goes into a production like that to pull off 50 games in 2 weekends, streaming it all live?
Well, let me just say this. You see this patch right here of grays? Yeah, that wasn't there like before the tournament started. But all kidding aside, guys, and you know this, like, and I'm not trying to be modest. It's just my approach to any of the stuff that I do, whether it's the GymRat Challenge stuff or my website. I sincerely say, okay, every time I do a production, I need to be the weakest link. All right. And if I'm the weakest link, it'll be okay at worst. That's the way I approach it. So, and I'm not just saying this because you guys are on. You two were phenomenal with the play-by-play last Saturday. You know, you bring in guys like Chris Watson, Rich Becker. You talked about Isis Young and Allie Jacks. You know, I told them at the end of the tournament, if you two are serious about doing this for a living, you will. And I think you guys, having worked with them, you probably feel the same way. They were phenomenal. From a behind the scenes, you know, a Chris Cook, Art Hunsinger. Like, these are people that collectively probably have, and I'm not trying to be funny here, 200 plus years of television and broadcasting experience. So, you know, for me, somebody's like, oh man, this was great. Genius, right? I said, the genius part is making sure you hire the right people. That's my contribution. I bring in the right people, and then I go, okay, I'll see you in 24 hours. And I know that when I walk away, I don't have to worry about a single thing. And that's how it really was a success.
I hope they're all paying you $10 a piece to mention their names here. It's like it's like an Oscar speech.
You guys it'll be like 11:05. Credits are rolling. Dude,
music.
We gotta go.
Music.
Shut up. But seriously, those people they're the reason why it was a success.
So, Joey, what did we see this past weekend for people who couldn't get into the building because of capacity limits still in this pandemic? What did we see, and what do you think GymRat Live and bringing the top 2 recruits in the country to the area will do for the future of showcases like this in the Capital Region?
I think, unfortunately, this year, like you mentioned, because of COVID restrictions and things like that, we didn't really get a chance to feel what this tournament really should be. Although I will say this for John Kamak, the fact that he got the quality of the teams that he did here this year, I think that's going to bode really well for him for next year. Because one, now he knows he can get those teams here. And now that basketball fans know that kind of caliber of players are going to be here, I think next year is going to be huge for them. I really, really do. But what did, you know, if you weren't there, what would you have seen? I mean, and you guys talked about it leading into bringing me on. You know, you look at guys like Amani Bates and Jalen Durant. Those guys are going to be future lottery picks, right? They're going to be probably top 10s eventually. But what gets lost in it is that the other players in the field, it's like, okay, so you got Bates and you got Durant. But, oh, by the way, you had a kid by the name of Kyle Filipowski who, I don't know, Stanford made him an offer. Duke made him an offer. A J.J. Starling for the Albany City Rocks EYBL. That kid's on everybody's list, like Kansas and Syracuse. So even the quote-unquote next-tier players were guys that are getting offers from all the major programs in the country. So if you missed it, that's what was here. But again, I really do believe by next year, fingers crossed, the COVID stuff isn't going to be in play and everyone will be able to get a ticket to go see it. And if you can't get there, then obviously because of the streaming component now that we've worked out, you'll be able to get a subscription to watch it.
Yeah, man. All right, so real quick, Amani Bates, this guy, number one guy, built like a little bit of a smaller Kevin Durant, if that's possible, right? A little bit more thin. Jalen Duran, they're already comps to Sean Kemp, a young Chris Webber. Real
that's
quick,
the one,
your impression of those two guys, man.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, I don't know really how much more I can add to it, except
there's Bates right there.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really get a chance to talk to Bates. Well, we did. We had him for post game after one of the games. But honestly, the overall package, and I'm not trying to pick and choose here, but I was thoroughly impressed with Jalen Duran on the court, off the court. I mean, you talked to him at the Armory after the game. The guy almost reminded me of like a Shane Battier with the way that he could kind of describe the game. I feel like way mature beyond his years. Now, has he capped? I doubt it. But even if he did, he's still good enough to garner all those accolades and people talking about him being a future number one. But yeah, dude, up close and personal, watching both those guys, all of us have covered basketball for a long time. And believe me, we have great players in Section 2. Don't get me wrong. We've got guys clearly in the NBA right now. But watch those two, you're like, that's just a different level. I think those guys right now could walk onto any program in the country, or at least a majority of them, and be a star right away. And you saw that. You could tell that guys who are 7 foot that can handle the basketball like an elite point guard, dribbling between their legs, step back threes. I mean, it was crazy. And Durant on the defensive end impressed me just as much as he did on the offensive end. So yeah, it was great. I mean, we got paid. Not that it didn't come with its stresses, by the way, but we got paid to have the best seats in the house, and it didn't disappoint.
Well, we were happy to be there, buddy. We thank you for that, man. You killed it that weekend. The exposure that these kids got, right, because coaches couldn't get here, couldn't be in the gym, just added a whole nother level to their recruitment process. Thanks for jumping on the show, Joey. We really appreciate it, buddy.
Chris, Bags, love being on. I'll bug you soon.
That's our buddy Joe Calderon with us here on Onorato and Bagnardi. Not spelled the same way, Bags, but did you go Duran at all? Did you have a Duran reference in there?
I did not.
All right. Okay.
Nope.
Missed opportunity. That's all I'll say.
It's more Duran.
I know it is.
Okay, well then no. I could have gone Duran.
Yes.
No.
All right.
Nope.
Okay, fine. Don't take my...
We had a kid named Luke Hunger, and I said, you got to keep feeding him. He had one dunk. I said he was famished on that one. You try to channel. You want to do your own thing, but you can't help but try to channel your Ian Eagle sometimes, Marv Albert sometimes. You try to go there once in a while doing play-by-play.
Yeah. All right. When we come back here on Onorato and Bagnardi, Tommy Grady's back at quarterback, and the Albany Empire are just back in general at the Times Union Center playing arena football. They win the season opener. Grady looks like he hasn't missed a beat from being the MVP championship QB that he was a couple of years ago in the Arena Football League. 8 touchdowns. We're going to catch up with the quarterback of the Albany Empire next, right here on Onorato and Bagnardi.
Nutrition is 80% of a healthy lifestyle. With 4 locations in the 518, Bold has you covered. Delicious? I think that's a yes. It's never been easier or more affordable to eat healthy. Salads with 17 dressings to choose from. Acai bowls with unlimited toppings. Power grain bowls, oatmeals, smoothies, artisan toasts, and Belgian waffles. Live Bold 7 days a week. At work, home, or on the go. Dine in, grab and go, pick up or delivery. Live bold, eat bold.
And now, back to Onorato and Bagnardi. Brought to you by Alpen House.
Welcome back to Onorato and Bagnardi. Arena Football Bags is back in the capital region. And, I mean, the savior, right, to this franchise continuing on with success has been the quarterback, Tommy Grady. What do I say to you about the position of quarterback?
You say it is the most important position in all of sports, period. Bar
all
none.
of sports. And in the season opener, Tommy Grady threw 8 touchdown passes, Shawnee. So I'm telling you right now, I know what I'm talking about here when I talk about the quarterback position. Tommy Grady, the QB for the Albany Empire, is with us here on Onorato and Bagnardi. Tommy, man, it's good to see you. It was great catching up with you the other night post game. Thanks for taking the time with us, man.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys being on here.
So take us just back to the beginning, right? When the AFL folds operations, do you think at that time, because we had bugged you with the retirement question a bunch, do you think at that time your playing days are done?
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I'm retiring, man. But yeah, I definitely thought I was done playing. It was, I wasn't going to move my family again for football. So this is the only place I was going to play. So, when it folded up, it looked like my career was done for. But the team came back, and I'm excited to be playing again.
So was that an automatic? Was that an automatic for you? It's back, I'm back, or was there a thought process of no? Mentally, I had kind of put this to bed, and now I'm going to have to turn it up a notch and get back into this thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't know if I was going to be back or not. It's obviously it's not the AFL, it's the NAL. It's not as high of a league, but at the same time, it's still a lot of fun. I'm having a great time out there with all the guys and stuff, and I'm glad I decided to come back and play.
All right, so whose phone call was it that brought you back?
Honestly, I talked to the owners, the new ownership group, and I probably wasn't going to do it. And then John Kane came on, and John's actually my boss at Flagstar Bank, so he decided to buy some part of the team, and that's what sold me on it.
So what about the philosophy, I guess, of the new management made you think, okay, yes, I can get back on board with this. This is going to be worth it for my time and for my health, of course. It's a risky sport to give this another go and come back and play QB.
It is risky. Obviously, calling my own plays, that really helped out because I can decide how long I'm going to hold the ball and stuff. But obviously, I talked to my family about it. My kids really want me to play it one more year. My wife was hesitant about it, but I talked her into it. But I think that, it was kind of more of a family decision than anything else.
And now you've got another little one at home, right?
I do. She'll be 4 months here in a couple days.
Congratulations, man. Bags, I don't think there's anything that says pandemic more than a newborn. Am I right?
I see where you're going there. Yeah, I see. We're now more than a year on. So yeah, you do the math. It makes a bit of sense.
Yeah. Quarantine baby for sure.
Yeah. All right. So game one, Tommy, you're back at home. The fans are there, which, for a long time, talk about the quarantine. We didn't know if we were going to get any fans back in sports even this soon for a long time there.
For sure.
And now it's a reality. So talk about game one, that home opener with fans back in the building. How great was it to be back on the field that not that long ago you thought you were never going to be on again?
Yeah, that's the funnest part, man. Going out there and playing for the fans. Fans here love arena football. They love the Empire. So that was obviously a great experience every time you play in front of the fans here. But that was fun going out there and playing in front of them. You can see how excited they were to be back at a football game, and then having my kids out there, and they're a little bit older now. They kind of understand what's going on. So it was all a lot of fun.
How do you come back without having played a game in 2 years? Essentially, it was August of 19. You guys win the title. And you throw 8 touchdown passes. Did you see that coming? Did you expect there to be rust to shake off? Because it didn't look like there was much, if any.
There was. Receivers helped me out a little bit. I had a couple balls that were overthrown, and they went out and got them. So obviously, it's just arena football. It's just it's fun. It's kind of like backyard football. We're just out there playing, having fun, kind of drawing stuff up in the dirt. And the receivers obviously made me look a lot better than I am.
Yeah, talk about that, man. Some of the new guys who you are now teamed up with, who maybe some arena football fans who were fans of the Empire before and are now with the team still don't really know about yet. Some guys you're excited about and fans should be keeping an eye on here as the season progresses.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you guys know who Darius Prince is now. He had 6 touchdowns in the game. He's been a threat in the AFL for the last few years. He's a big-time player, makes big-time plays, as you guys can see from the game. But Philip Barnett actually got here on Friday, and he had 2 touchdowns. So I think he's a veteran guy that knows the game. He's been around, so he's really gonna help us out this year. The offensive line played great. I got hit one time all game, and it was my fault. So those guys did a great job. And then we have some young receivers who are they're still learning the game. It's going to take them a few more weeks, but they'll come along and they'll be good for us this year.
Only 3 more home games the rest of the season. It's a quick one.
Yeah.
Are you savoring these moments here? I mean, I know Shawnee asked you about that home opener in front of the crowd again. I guess from a mentality standpoint, thinking you weren't going to play again, now here you are again. Are you like mentally approaching this year any differently than you have in the past?
No, I mean, I take it play by play. Obviously, it's the older I get, the more I realize I'm not going to have too many more opportunities. But I just kind of take it play by play, day by day, and see how everything turns out. But it is fun playing in front of the fans here and see all the passion they have and the excitement in the arena.
All right, I want to know what your favorite play is. Now, obviously, I don't want you to, spoil any scouting report here or anything like that, but you line up in the huddle, you got to play, you're targeting a guy, you want a receiver running a certain kind of route. Do you want something where it's like a play action type of thing? What is your favorite play that you would just run for days if you could?
So my favorite play is when I take one step, I throw a really easy pass to the receiver, and they take it for a touchdown. That's like joy to my world. When I just throw a nice, easy little toss, like a screen pass there to Darius Prince, and he took it 15 yards for a touchdown.
That sounds like Chris. The least amount of work possible.
Yeah,
for
that
the
makes my job
reward.
easy. I get to watch him run the balls out of my hands, and it's fun.
Yeah, but you throw I'll call it the moon ball, which is a Russell Wilson thing. You throw the moon ball, man, as well as anybody in certainly Arena Football League history. You're a multiple-time MVP and champion there. So don't you love the deep shot?
I do like it. It's a little more work for me. It's throwing a little 5-yard pass and watching it run, but no, and anytime you complete a ball and it's a touchdown, it's awesome. But I do like throwing those deep ones, especially when we're backed up. And I try to get the defense line off balance a little bit, get them to stop rushing a little bit. Then that's when I take those shots with the big old moon balls.
How did you always go Tommy, or was that like, I'm a quarterback, I can't go Tom Grady because it's too close to Tom Brady, and now I'm gonna have to listen to that forever? Is Tommy always the thing?
I've always gone by Tommy. I feel like Tommy makes me feel like an old guy. I don't want that. So I've been Tommy since ever since I was little. I've stuck with it.
All right, I saw you. I think it was either after touchdown 7, or I don't know if you had to go back in and throw an 8th one, but it was after one of your late TDs in the season opener, where you went over to Joe Sykes' family and you were high-fiving his kids and his fiance. How much does it mean to have Sykes on the coaching staff? And was that a little bit of a factor too? I know he jumped on late. Did you recruit him?
I didn't recruit him. I've been recruiting him to play, but I was over there telling his kids to tell them they want to watch their daddy play. So that was all I was doing over there. He's he's meant to be on the field.
All right. So what do you guys learn from game 1 now that you got to build off of, maybe even improve upon? Some of the stuff you want to obviously repeat and have continued success, and some areas that you feel like we got to get a little bit better in if we're going to have continued success here going forward.
Yeah, I think obviously special teams we're very unprepared for that situation. I think they now know, even if you're up by 21 points with a minute left, there's still a chance with all the onside kicks and stuff coming out that they could, they can still come back. So this week, I think we worked a little more on the special teams and onside kicks, and then just taking care of the football on offense. And I thought our defense played good until the end. So I think everyone has a little bit to work on, but I think we hopefully corrected it this week in practice.
Next home game is Saturday, June 12th. And like I said, there are only 3 more home games left. This season will be a little bit of a sprint compared to what Arena Football League fans were used to in the Capital Region. Tommy, man, you keep saying how old you are, but that just makes me feel old too. So let's cut that out, man. Keep playing at the high level you are.
I'm old in football years.
Okay.
There
Fair.
you go, yeah.
Fair. That's fine. All right. I was old in football years back when I was an 8th grader.
Yeah, you're old in regular years now, Chris. You're old in regular years.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. Man, that is so true. Tommy, thank you, dude. We really appreciate the time, man. Continued success. Stay healthy, and we'll see you after that game on the 12th.
Of course. Good seeing you guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Empire quarterback Tommy Grady here with us on Onorato and Bagnardi.
Happiness is found in simple things. The sun on your face, sharing laughs, at the campground, getting wet, relaxing together, the love of family. There's never been a better time to go outside and play. Alpenhaus Pool Spa Boat and RV, bringing families together and creating memories since 1964.
And now, back to Onorato and Bagnardi. Brought to you by Alpenhaus.
All right, Bags. Sometimes I think we need more than an hour, but then I think I don't want to spend more than an hour every week with you. Good to catch up with Tommy a little bit here as we got to know him his first couple of years in Albany with the Empire. We started with the NBA. We'll end with the NBA. And yes, that's despite Coach K saying he's done after this coming college basketball season. That's despite the confirmed positive test in horse racing with Bob Baffert. We started with the NBA. We'll end with it. This one took me by great surprise, middle of the week. Brad Stevens moving up and Danny Ainge moving out in Boston.
Yeah, surprised me too because I didn't know this was something Brad Stevens really wanted to do. I mean, Ainge retiring doesn't really shock you, but you have to imagine that this is something Stevens wants. It is a promotion, but I just always felt like he'd be a coach. Felt like he'd be a coach for a long time in this league. That's not to say that he won't return to coaching, but it just seems odd that he's not going to be the head coach of the Boston Celtics next year. If I'm Boston now, so you got to obviously turn the page and decide where you're going to go. I would target my former guy with Kenny Atkinson, who's now an assistant with the Clippers. So obviously still work to do with that team in the postseason. But when they're done, he's one guy I'd look to scoop up in a hurry for what he did turning around a Brooklyn Nets squad. And of course, he did it with GM Sean Marks, but now you do it with Brad Stevens in the front office. And I would bring Kenny in to work with some young guys. And of course, you've got the stars in Tatum, and Walker's still going to be there, and Jaylen Brown. So that's where I would go with it. But I'm with you that it surprised me he's not going to be the head coach of the Celtics next year.
And what I think is weird, and Lloyd Pierce and your former guy, Jason Kidd, are on a short list. What I find disappointing, I guess, is that people are looking at the Ainge era as if it was unsuccessful. To me, it couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, I thought he drafted very well. When you look at the top 5 picks, he had Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Those are 3 starters still on this team. Did pretty well, I thought, in the draft when he had a high pick. So
he pulled off the ultimate coup in the trade against with the Nets, right? To deal Garnett in them, and look what he wound up with.
Yeah. So a little bit of a shakeup in Boston, which is kind of interesting. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals just a year ago in the bubble. Coming up next week, we dive into the entertainment world, which I'm fired up about. Country music stars Michael Ray and Tennille Arts will join the show ahead of their performance in the Capital Region. That's next week on Onorato and Bagnardi.